Welcome to Salesology, conversations with sales leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. When you're ready to transform your sales for today's transforming market, we've got you covered. With your host, the queen of cold calling and founder of Salesology, award-winning author, speaker, sales trainer, and coach, Wendy Weiss.
Hi, welcome to Salesology, conversations with sales leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. And I'm your host, Wendy Weiss. I am the founder of Salesology, creator of the Salesology prospecting method, and I'm also known as the queen of cold calling. Today, my very special guest is Mike Kochenderfer. And Mike is a regional sales manager at Rico Equipment. And he's a seasoned sales leader. He has a track record of driving growth and building high-performing teams. And as a regional sales manager at Rico, he's recognized not only for increasing revenue, but also for his mentorship and coaching skills. Michael is dedicated to fostering professional development within his team, creating a positive and supportive work environment, and his leadership has been instrumental in managing complex projects, including overseeing the most intricate commercial installations in DirecTV's history. And Michael's commitment to excellence and his ability to build strong relationships make him a respected figure in sales management. And we are so lucky to have him here today. Thank you so much, Mike, for being here.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited and I really appreciate the opportunity. This is awesome.
Okay, cool. So let's have an awesome interview. What do you say?
I love it. I am ready.
Okay, so let's begin at the beginning, which is where I always begin. Tell us the backstory. How did you end up at Rico Equipment, being a regional sales manager? I know you have a very interesting background, so give us a scoop.
Yeah, it is interesting. So, it's funny, like I think back on my time in sales and, I think about myself back in high school, and I'll tell you, back then, if you would have told me that I'd be anything to do with sales, I would have said you were crazy. I always thought to myself that salespeople had like negative connotations to it. And so, I didn't know what I was going to do, but I would have thought that wouldn't have been it. And so I'm 19 years old. I'm a degenerate fisherman. I love fishing more than anything. And I wanted to work at Gander Mountain really bad, like a part-time when I started college. And so, I started there December of 1998. It was right before Christmas. I'll never forget it. And so we had a ton of people coming into the store, looking to buy Christmas presents. And, I remember it was probably the first Saturday that I was there and we're packed. And we had this room in the front of the store. It was called the cash audit room. And that's where we kept all of our high dollar things. People would come see a display, but if they wanted to buy something, we paid your store manager. He would come up and he would take it to the service desk. And that Saturday, I kept paging him over and over and over to get, you name it, high dollar reels, fish finders, shanties, and things like that. And I didn't think anything of it. And I remember walking back to the offices and hearing him say, wow, I just hired the best salesperson I've ever seen. And he was talking about me. And I'm like, wow, a salesperson, like it didn't seem like that's what I was doing. I'm just thinking to myself, well, I'm just helping people. That's what I love to do. I'm teaching them how to do the things that I love to do. And then it dawned on me that, wow, sales isn't this negative thing. Sales is really nothing more than helping somebody, achieve a desired outcome, get what it is that they want, right? And also giving the opportunity to teach them how to do those things. And that is really what sort of fundamentally shaped me to go, add sales as a career. And so absolutely loved it. And then in addition to that, being a fisherman, I realized that fishing is a lot like selling, which sounds crazy, but there was this formula, in the 80s from a magazine called In Fisherman. It said F plus L plus P is success. So fish plus location plus presentation equals success. That's how you catch fish. And I thought to myself at a certain period of time, it's like, wow. So the fish is the prospect, the location is where you're going to find them. And the presentation is, using methods in order to entice them to buy. And so, again, like I would get so excited when I closed a big deal because it felt like I was fishing. So I did that for a couple of years at Gander Mountain. I got the opportunity to become a sales manager for the first time. And then I got to start to hone my leadership capabilities. And I knew when I started as a sales manager there, I wanted to be the person I was, when I was a salesperson. But I also wanted to make sure that the environment was positive, that people would look forward to coming into work every day. They enjoyed what they did, and that our company and our customers would get the best experience because we had highly trained people that wanted to do the right thing for them. And so I had 4.5 really awesome years there. I moved on, I guess, maybe 2003, did a little bit of furniture selling, and then eventually I got my first outside sales role with a company called Apsopure. And that's where I cut my teeth in cold calling. Again, that seemed like something that was kind of scary. We had leads that came in and we wanted to convert those at a high level, but to really be maximally successful, you had to be able to go out and find prospects. And so, started doing that. And I realized, man, if I find highly targeted people to go see, right, not just anything. And we sell bottled water service, we sell office coffee service. So you can imagine you can sell that to just about anyone. But understanding a book of business and then finding customers that look like that, all of a sudden cold calling is not scary. And so I go out and it was kind of the same thing. I'm just trying to find people that want to be refreshed or want coffee, right? Want to have employee engagement because they're giving them great refreshments. And so, did that for a couple of years, really loved it, became the top salesperson. And then our sales and marketing director, really my first mentor in business, Frank, he had me start training people at other plants. And so, I got to start going down to St. Louis and it was great. I got to teach people how to do what I did successfully, but not just that. Take the things that they did successfully, incorporate what I did, and then just become this dynamite salesperson. And I got to see how that could really affect people's lives. It was great. That led me to become the sales manager for the company, right? I got to oversee salespeople at all the plants that we had. I loved it. And, I wanted to continue to be that person that can train and coach. Wanted to be a person that could provide a really awesome environment, right? No matter what happened, they knew they could come into work. They had a person that had their back. They had a manager a leader, I should say, that would do whatever it took for them. And I really learned at that point what servant leadership was, right? Nothing was beneath me to do. If I could do something that would help somebody be successful, whether it was take something off their plate, teach them how to do something, it didn't matter. I was going to do it. So got to build a great sales team. We sold a lot of sort of transactional deals, and we started selling some more complex sales to bigger customers, and just loved it. So I was there for probably about 9.5 years or so. In 2016, I went to a company called Signal Group, a telecommunications company. This place completely transformed my life. So I got to meet the greatest mentor I've ever had. His name's Evan. And, his philosophy for me, he really wanted me to be me. He wanted to unleash me, right? He wanted me to be authentic. So I learned what authenticity was and then what that meant to people. So, he really taught me how to be the best that I could be. He was the greatest servant leader I've ever seen in my life. And he taught me how to do what I was doing, but do it at a much higher level. And I remember the first day that we worked together, he said, Mike, we'll know that we've been successful together if we win the Commercial DirecTV Dealer of the Year award. And our competitors in the dealer space were companies that had maybe 100 salespeople, maybe more than that. But we were a small team of, the biggest we got was 17 people, but maybe 10 of those were salespeople. And so we built an awesome team, just the greatest relationships I've had with salespeople. And we ended up pulling that off in 2022. And it was the honor of a lifetime. We opened up other sales channels. We got to work with yacht owners. I mean, some of the coolest stuff that you can imagine. We did it together. And that led me to November of this past year. I got an opportunity to sell heavy equipment with Rico equipment. I saw the job description and I thought, man, when I was a kid, I would see these excavators, these dozers, and these wheel loaders. And I thought those were the coolest things I'd ever seen in my life. I had this dream of like crawling on them and digging holes. And I think my first dream job was a garbage man. And so, it was the coolest thing. And so I got the opportunity to come on board. It's a much different industry than what I did previously. We're working with yacht owners, and now we're working with construction companies, excavators, mining companies, but an awesome customer base. Some of the greatest people, that buy machinery from us. And now I've got a team that covers the state of Michigan. And right now I got 2 people, but they are phenomenal people, A players that really, really care, that embody our core values. And Me and then my partner in operations, regional operations manager, are fully responsible for the state of Michigan, revenue generation, service, support, and everything that comes with it. So we're looking for 3 more people, and that got me to where I'm at today. Very, very happy to be here.
Okay, well, I have a lot of questions for you, but before I ask you any of my questions, I need to hear an instant recap of your fishing model for sales.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So it's called F plus L plus P equals success. So fish, so understanding the species of fish that you're after, the nature of those fish, the location where those fish are going to be found, right? Depending on the time of the day, the time of the year, water temperature, what they might be eating, and then the presentation or the lure that you're going to use to get them to bite. And so I look at selling much the same way. Again, the fish is the prospect or the customer. The location is where you find them, any given day, office, whatever. And the presentation is, the tactics that you use to lead them towards a sale. But you have to understand that fish aren't always going to bite, and you're not always going to have a solution for a prospect or a customer, and that's okay.
Okay, well, I think there's a book in there.
That might be. There might be.
Absolutely. My model is from ballet class. First you warm up, then you rehearse, then you perform. But I let you get that bottle too.
Yeah, I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, so I want to ask you because you've been at Rico for about 6 months now.
Yeah.
And so you inherited a team, correct? Right. So here's my question. Because it is often very difficult to get salespeople like all kind of moving in the same direction, even if it's a small team. And when you come into a situation, they're not new like you are. They were there before you. A status quo is so powerful. People like to keep doing whatever it is they've been doing. So how do you get salespeople? How do you manage salespeople that have been there? You come into the situation, and now maybe you want them doing something that's different from whatever it is they're used to doing. How do you get them on board? How do you get them to change behavior, moving together as a team in maybe a different direction?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm very, very lucky right now to have 2 people that, are A players that really embody the core values of the company. But I'll tell you, for me, it goes back to what I learned from Evan, and that's authenticity. And, it's coming in here. I come into an industry where I have, for lack of a better word, no street cred, right? And I've got people that have been in the heavy equipment business for a long time. And so for me, it's first really getting them to understand that I'm here to help them. I'm here to work with them. I'm here to serve them as much as I'm here to lead them. So I take the servant leadership thing very, very seriously. And so, for somebody that's been here for a long, long time, I don't have a great deal of knowledge about heavy equipment, especially when I start. So it's really understanding what can I do to take things off his plate so that he could just go out and sell and do the things that he's best at. Right. And so that's really what I've concentrated on in the beginning is while I learn the industry, it's things that I can do immediately to make an impact on business. And I think if you're doing that, people that work with you realize that you're authentic and you're here to help. You're here to be part of a team, not be the boss of a team, be part of the team. And to me, that's what really gets people all rowing in the same direction. And I've certainly made mistakes at other companies when I started where maybe I wasn't as authentic and maybe people didn't understand, what I was here for. And I really wanted to just focus on that when I came into this business. And so I think that's the best way to answer that.
Okay. You keep using the word authentic, and I'm wondering what you mean by that, because it seems to mean different things to different people. And sometimes salespeople will say they can't do something because they can't be their authentic self, and that's not necessarily true. So what is your definition of authenticity?
Yeah. So I would just answer it that, It's being who you are, being the best version of who you are, not trying to be somebody else, because I think people can really sense that. And so to me, it's just like in my last job, I got unleashed because I stopped maybe trying to be something that I thought somebody wanted me to be, and I just started being the best version of me, using the things that are best about me to really help people. And so that's the way that I see that. And I think that when you're being authentic and being your full self, people can sense that, and they want to get behind you, or maybe get alongside you and work with you.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So you're currently looking at building out your team. You're hiring. So walk me through the process, like the thought process. I need to hire salespeople. How do you decide? How do you figure out what kind of salespeople, where you're going to look, what you're going to do, what are the criteria? Or just walk me through that process.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one thing that our company does really, really well is that, core values of this company are taken very seriously, and so we look for people that fit our core values, and that is, of utmost importance. And we have about 400 people here, and I can tell you from experience that every single person, without even a shred of hesitation, feels like we're all sort of moving in the same direction. We're all here to support each other. I think on my first day, somebody was talking about how, we're all a circle, we're all working towards the same goal. And so we look for people that embody those things as well. And so, you can't always tell that in a resume, but one of our core values is loyal. And so we're looking for people that don't have a million job turns, somebody that's looking for a career, somebody that's professional, somebody that is hardworking. Hardworking is a very important characteristic. So, you try to pick out those things as best you can from a resume, right? I use LinkedIn a lot. I have a decent network of salespeople that I tap into, but I use LinkedIn for searching for jobs. Certainly we use Indeed and ZipRecruiter, but it's really trying to find people that sort of embody the core values, finding somebody that's either done heavy equipment or have equipment adjacent experience, maybe not selling equipment, but maybe they sold to general contractors or mining companies. And so that's where we start looking. And again, somebody with some tenure, somebody that's stuck around a place, that somebody that's really looking for a career, that they want to come to this place and they want to retire from this place. They want to work here for the rest of their career. And so that's sort of the process behind it.
Okay. And so when you hire people or the way you're building your team, are they both hunters and farmers, or do you have them broken out? Like some of them are hunters, some of them are farmers, or how are you doing?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our people do both. And so Michigan for our company is really the newest region to the company. So we've had a presence here for probably 12 years, but we opened up an office in Grand Rapids about a year and a half ago. And so, in other regions where maybe we're more established, like Ohio, the percentage of hunting to farming might be a little bit more even. Whereas in our state, hunting is probably 80 to 85% of the game, and maybe farming's 15%. And so, and maybe it's even more hunting than that over on the west side of the state. So, I guess to answer your question, we're more hunters than farmers, but as you build a customer base, that starts to even itself out with us.
Absolutely. So I do have to ask you in our conversation about hiring and building out a team, because sometimes, I mean, you try your very best and you've got your uh, criteria that you're using, the things that you're looking for, and you've got the resume and you interview and you do everything you can think of. And sometimes it just doesn't work. And one of the questions I asked you in preparation for this interview, I asked you what drives you crazy about managing a sales team. And you said terminations, because firing someone is tough. They're human. I'm quoting Mike now. They're human. They're likely to be in a tough spot post termination. I always dread doing this. So, how do you, what is your process if you've made a mistake or you think you've made a mistake? Like, how do you evaluate?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, absolutely.
what is the process if you start to think, gee, maybe I shouldn't, maybe this is not a good hire?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So sometimes it's easy, right? If there's some kind of misconduct where it's not, where it's more than a gut feeling, right? It makes it a lot more simple. But for me, I always like to look backwards, right? Trying to reverse engineer why somebody's failing. And so it's not just the results, but some of those effort metrics that go into it. And I remember years ago, I'll give you an example. I had a salesperson that on paper was doing everything. It looked flawlessly. So the effort was there, a lot of activity, right? And things looked good in CRM, but the results weren't there. And so I'm like, man, what's going on here? So I started listening to this person's phone calls, and I realized quickly that the effort's there, but they're confusing customers, right? I think there's a Sandler principle called "Don't spill your candy in the lobby," and I think of that as jumping into a pitch way too quick. And so this person would hear maybe one sentence, they would think they had the answer, and then they would just sort of spew out everything they thought they needed, and you could instantly hear the prospect disconnect from them. And so, in that case, is building a performance improvement plan. That's my normal sort of a model in these situations, and it's building something custom. So in that case, it was, you're going to put in the same effort, but what we're going to do is we're going to change our approach. And I better be at my best when we're doing a performance improvement plan, because this is as much on me, if not more so, than the person. This is where I have to be the best coach and the best teacher ever. And so what I like to do is spend at least an hour or two with that person a week, maybe making calls, maybe alternating things, right? Maybe I'm making a prospecting call than this person is, and then really try to figure out how we can sort of solve this problem together. And then it's just meeting with somebody every week, right? Doing 30-day check-ins, making sure people are on track or off track. And, if that person comes through that, then that's great. The performance improvement plan is over. But, if the metrics aren't right or something isn't evening out, well, then, it's time to go. And I feel like I've done everything that I could. And that certainly makes it easier. So, but again, when that time comes, I'm going to be the best that I can. I'm going to coach them. I'm going to try to help them, because, people deserve that. And I probably have at least as much success getting people through a PIP as not, but that's my approach with it.
Okay, good. So before you even get to this person needs a performance improvement plan, how important is training a new hire?
Oh, it's critical. It's absolutely critical. And again, that's where I need to be at my best. And that's where, I need more support around me. I can't imagine anything that's more important than that. It's making sure that I'm doing everything that I can, that the team's doing everything that we can, because collectively as a unit, we all succeed together. And so, that first, call it 4 to 6 weeks, I think is absolutely critical. For me, it's using my time wisely to coach. It's pulling in maybe some of our vendors and partners from outside of the company to do trainings. It's giving somebody sort of a picture of the company as a whole by shadowing different groups within the company. I think that's very helpful. And then also getting them to spend time with different salespeople. So again, they can understand, here's the things that make this person successful, and this is what maybe I can incorporate into my style. And then it's also shadowing them while they do that job. Those are all super, super, super important, and we have to be at our best to give somebody, the best opportunity for success.
Well, I am with you there for sure. So so this has been a great conversation. Like, if people want to connect with you, how can they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm on LinkedIn. I go by Michael Kochenderfer on there, and my last name is very long, and I don't expect anybody to know how to spell it, but you'll be able to find it in the show notes. Please connect with me. Please reach out to me. I'd love to talk with you guys, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be on the show with you today, Wendy.
Okay. Yes, Michael does have a long last name, but that's so good, because even, if you weren't able to spell it out phonetically, it doesn't matter. Mike is indeed right. The link to his LinkedIn profile is in the show notes. So as soon as you finish listening to this podcast, go to the show notes, click on the link, connect with Mike, and you'll be glad you did. I am. That's how I met Mike.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. So you have been listening to Salesology Conversations with Sales Leaders with my very, very special guest, Mike Kochenderfer. who has a very long last name. He is the regional sales manager at Rico Equipment. And we've been talking all things building a sales team. And if you have found value in listening to today's podcast, then please think about one business owner, one entrepreneur, one sales leader, somebody that you know that you think might also find value in listening to this podcast. And please do share the link with them. And until we meet again, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, really large bills.
You've been listening to Salesology, Conversations with Sales Leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. Be sure to follow so that you don't miss a single episode. And while you're at it, please leave a rating and review and be sure to share it with your friends. Tune in every week for more exciting insights and wisdom on transforming sales. And until next time, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, very large bills.